Good morning, everybody. 9 a.m., 27 degrees outside, and the temps are going to drop from here. Snow coming down in many parts of Western New York, creating an awful morning commute for some. We'll get to Lance Mellon in just a few minutes. But Patrick, what is going on?
You and everybody else are asking the same question. I would say the snow this morning, which was expected, came down at a little more of a furious pace.
Yeah, whiteout conditions in Hamburg right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that band of snow luckily is moving out of the area. But what I'm noticing is over the last couple of days, any snow that falls is coming down a little bit more intensely. The lake is just providing some high octane fuel to just add to the intensity of the snow. And we're gonna see more today. Buffalo's getting a break, but the heavy snow now is in the Boston Hills down towards Hamburg. You can see that there. It is pushing to the east pretty quickly, so the snow is about to come to an end, but it continues in Wyoming County and it's heading out towards Livingston County. Now, more snow showers though will redevelop as we head into the afternoon and focus across the South Towns and ski country. Notice temperatures coming down. We're in the mid to upper 20s now. We'll be in the lower 20s by this afternoon. Tomorrow morning, we are in the teens, and there you can see some of those lake effect snows continuing to the south primarily. And then tomorrow afternoon, periods of, or I should say, call them bursts of snow, and temperatures very cold, single digits to low teens. So your weekend, after all of this fun and games, single digits on Saturday, so very cold weather on Saturday. Sunday, widespread snow. Some of that could be heavy. We have a winter storm watch out for Sunday because of the potential of heavy snow. There's a look at the the next 5 days. Certainly, this is not the Chamber of Commerce weather. This is kind of what Buffalo's known for, right? Periods of snow and cold all the way through Monday of next week.
All right, and Patrick, is that snow band that was in Hamburg bringing the whiteout conditions, is that in South Buffalo right now? Because I just got a text saying that there's a travel advisory in Buffalo as of 8:38 a.m. The travel advisory is in effect for Buffalo, South Buffalo, seeing heavy snow, poor visibility, and difficult road conditions.
I think that is a little old because that snow is heading out. Well, okay. Right now, the snow is definitely pushing out of the area. But it wasn't long ago that it was bad in South Buffalo and in the Hamburg area.
Yeah, that's 8:38 this morning, so about 20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago. Yeah, that band since then has cleared South Buffalo, but more could certainly come back out later today.
Okay. All right, Patrick, thank you. Well, take a look at the traffic conditions right now. This is the 400, which is actually cleared up. Nope, that is not the 400. That is the 90? What is it? What am I looking at here? Oh, okay, this is the 90. So this is fine, but we do have a traffic camera in the 400 that's showing an accident, 219. Also, let's get right to Lance right now and find out where the trouble spots are. Lance, what's going on?
Hey, thanks a lot, Melissa. Well, like you said, we have seen some improvement in spots. I can see a lot more pavement on the cameras than we did just a half an hour ago, but that doesn't mean things are completely cleared up. Still very slick on your on and off ramps. Look at the far right. That's the ramp of the 219. That's actually the exit to Mile Strip, where still dealing with a lot of snow coverage. And this vehicle was way off the road. They finally are getting winched out and on the back of a tow truck on the northbound side there. And, it seems like at least our congestion has cleared up in a lot of spots, but we still have, I don't think this is weather related, but a disabled truck on the 90 West on the right shoulder. That's backing things up to the 290. It's been pretty consistent in terms of this volume going through Cheektowaga. And yeah, I mean, it's clearing up in some spots. The 290 East still a little slow passing Main Street, but not backed up nearly as far as it was. We were backed up all the way to Niagara Falls Boulevard about an hour ago, so improvement there. And the 190 South, a little bit of improvement through Grand Island, no longer any delays through the island, and then a couple of brake lights being tapped here just beyond Sheridan heading towards Ontario Street. But yeah, like Patrick said, that snow's moving south, so areas, the Boston Hills, Springville, the southern portion of the 219, they're getting hit right now. Thankfully, we don't have any accidents in those spots, but the snow's moving, so it's hard to keep track of, Melissa.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Lance, the consistency of it all, that's what kind of threw me off. Yesterday in the evening, we had slush and puddles on the ground, but then overnight it kind of all turned into ice and then heavy,
Yeah.
wet snow on top of it. So the consistency, I think, is making things a little bit difficult, and maybe some black ice out there too.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think it's just an example with all those single vehicle spinouts. You know, the snow, a lot of times, if you have decent tires and four-wheel drive, it's manageable, but it's the ice that made things slick. And we had a ton of vehicles slide on entrance ramps, hit the guide rails. A lot of them have been cleared, but it was just a messy morning. And when I first came in, you know, it wasn't widespread. It was kind of here or there, you know, north of Buffalo, it was worse. Areas along the 400 were worse, but, you know, it was about 6:45, 7 o'clock. Everywhere was in terrible shape, so hopefully a lot of folks made it to work safely this morning.
Yeah, and you said this is one of those mornings that it's been one of the worst mornings that you've seen in a long time, as far as almost every single highway in the South Towns has had some sort of issue on it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, earlier this week, just on Monday, we were focusing on that snow band over Niagara County. That was a mess. And then Tuesday, it was all in the South Towns. But today, it seemed like no area was spared for those slick roads. I mean, traffic flows were yellow all morning with, you know, everyone slowing down. And then when the volume picked up, they were pretty much all red across the board. So, yeah, it was quite colorful on the flows this morning.
Certainly was. All right, Lance, thanks for bringing us all of those cameras throughout the morning here on Daybreak and keeping us up to speed on what we need to know as we head out the door. We appreciate it.
Yep.
And take a look at this. This is an issue caused by that heavy, wet snow that we were talking about likely. This is the high-quality gas station at the corner of Camp Road and Sunset in Hamburg. The roof there over the gas pumps collapsed, likely under the weight of this snow. Not too windy out there, so that probably didn't have anything to do with it, but some big issues out there. We've got a photographer at the scene trying to get more information and make sure that no one was hurt. And this was overnight. We're trying to get more details about this crash on the outbound 33. Our cameras captured this video around 12:30 this morning on the outbound Kensington right past Grider Street. The crash shut it down for a while. Things are back open. When I was driving to work at 3 in the morning on the Kensington, I was going inbound and I passed the accident still. The car was being lifted out of a ditch and being put on a flatbed tow truck. And so that was hours after the crash first started. We're waiting to hear from police about what may have happened and to find out how badly anyone was hurt. All right, in other news this morning, former DEA agent convicted of helping drug dealers will spend the next 5 years in prison. Retired Drug Enforcement Administration Special Agent Joseph Bongiovanni was sentenced in federal court yesterday. A jury found him guilty on 7 counts, including conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and making false statements. Prosecutors were hoping that he'd get up to 2 decades behind bars, but the judge ruled that some of the allegations were never proven at trial, leading to a significantly shorter sentence.
I don't know how many people want to go to jail on any given day, let alone someone in law enforcement. So for me to say, as I'm standing here today, that 5 years is an adequate deterrent, 10 years is an adequate deterrent, 20 years is an adequate deterrent. Every individual operates differently, and so there is no clear set number that I can say would reflect the true deterrent for someone in the future.
Bongiovanni's lawyers are pushing for 2 years home confinement to keep him out of prison due to the potential danger of former cops behind bars. People living in Buffalo are sounding off about issues with public housing. They packed the Central Library last night to voice their frustrations to Common Council members. Daybreak's Natalie Foss has more from that emotional meeting.
Things definitely got emotional last night as residents voiced what they've been experiencing for years. They've talked about pest infestations as well as a lack of heat and hot water, even mechanical issues with elevators, all things that they've experienced for years.
There's been a lot going on, even with the maintenance department. Like, one of the maintenance guys even hit me, so I even gave that to the office, and they never did anything about that. I had them tell me they wasn't gonna cut my grass no more, so I have to pay somebody to cut my grass every week or so.
There's a lot of corruption going on, conflict of interest with, people's spouses in higher places. So I think we need to hold people accountable, and I believe that's why the city council is here to say, hey, somebody has to hold them accountability. They need to be removed.
We asked the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority about these problems that residents expressed and what can be done to fix them.
We have very challenged developments that we have to deal with, and we have a very difficult population that we work with as well. So it's challenging, It stays, it's not that things don't get addressed at all. It's just that they get addressed and the problems occurred again or something else breaks. So, we think that, we need to do a better job in responding. But we need the cooperation of the residents as well.
The Buffalo Common Council hopes that having residents come and speak directly to the Housing Authority will help keep these problems from happening again, and they're hoping that it will raise the standard of living in the city of Buffalo. On your side in downtown Buffalo, Natalie Foss, Channel 2 News.
All right, Natalie, thank you. Well, breaking news right now of a big honor for Josh Allen. We'll tell you about that and talk a lot about the Bills coming up right after this break. All right, before we get to that press conference from yesterday that many are calling off the rails and disastrous, we have to give Bills Mafia some good news, right?
Right.
Okay.
Tell us.
We have just learned that Josh Allen is a finalist for NFL MVP again this year, despite having 5 turnovers or 4 in the last game. Okay, so Adam Schefter also tweeting out who the other finalists are. There's always 5. So Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars QB, Drake May, the Patriots QB, Christian McCaffrey, the running back for the 49ers, and Matthew Stafford, the quarterback for the Rams.
It's going to be Stafford.
You think?
Stafford or Drake.
Okay,
No
so Allen was
disrespect to
previously
Allen,
named a finalist in 2020, 22, 23, and 24. And he came in 2nd in 2020 and 3rd in 22. And of course, he won it last year. Be good, do good. God bless,
That's
go Bills.
right.
That was the speech. At the end of his speech.
I want to hear that again after yesterday's.
Yes. We all need some lovely speeches that make everyone feel good.
Right.
Because people did not feel good after the press conference yesterday. I shouldn't laugh, but I said before, like, get your popcorn ready. This is going to be interesting.
And it was.
I was eating a lot of popcorn. There was a lot going on in this press conference. It left a lot of members of the Bills Mafia even more worried about the future of the team afterwards.
Okay, I think that, okay.
Okay.
You can't say that one press conference should set them, they'll get things right. They're gonna hire the right coach. Everything's gonna be fine. Yes, there was some debate about the whole Keon Coleman stuff, but come on. That doesn't mean that the office is in shambles. I don't think. That's my
I don't
opinion.
know what's happening in the office, but I know how Bills Mafia members are feeling right now after seeing it. It just, maybe things are fine behind the scenes, but the way it came off
You're right.
was it came off as they're not on the same page.
Right.
They're talking over each other.
Interrupting.
They're interrupting each other. Terry saying one thing, Bean has to walk it back later on in the press conference. We haven't heard from Terry Pagula answering questions from the media since 2019. And a lot of people are saying, this is why. It just didn't make sense.
I appreciated his initial comments. He was honest. He goes, I went into the locker room, and he goes, Josh didn't even acknowledge me.
Okay.
I thought that was like he was so distraught that me, the owner, the one that signs his checks, he was too distraught to even.
But he also said that's the reason why he let Coach go, was
Right.
because of the locker room. Should he be making his decision about letting McDermott go?
It was knee-jerk.
Based on
It was knee-jerk.
Right,
Yeah.
a knee-jerk reaction. All right, so I asked you on social media to give me your feelings about the press conference, and I've got some of them to read to you. But first, should we do this sound right here? What are we listening to here? Okay, hang on. Let's hear it. Here's a little bit of the press conference first. We want to lay it out for you before you tell us what you think.
My decision to bring in a new coach was based on the results of our game in Denver. I want to take you in the locker room after that game. I looked around. First thing I noticed was our quarterback with his head down, crying. I looked at all the other players. I looked at their faces and our coaches. I walked over to Josh. He didn't even acknowledge I was there. First thing I said to him, I said, that was a catch. We all know what I'm talking about. He didn't acknowledge me. He just sat there sobbing. He was listless. He had given everything he had to try to win that game.
Okay. So, yes, he said that that's why he ended up deciding to fire McDermott. He said that Josh had nothing to do with the decision to let the coach go. He didn't tell Josh until afterwards, and he wouldn't say when pressed what Josh felt about the decision to let McDermott go. Some of the other news that came out that was actually good to know is that Josh does have a foot injury that might need a procedure, could be surgery. He should be good to go by OTAs. What else did we learn? Oh, we learned that Josh will be part of the decision making for the next coach to be hired. But the Keon Coleman thing, whoever thought that we'd be coming out of this press conference talking about Keon Coleman so much?
That was the weird part of it.
Right, because they were asked about, Brandon Beane was asked about what he thought about the receiver corps, because he went on WGR months ago. Back in April. And there was this big drama because he was really defensive about not drafting a wide receiver and that the Bills needed it. And he said, why are you talking about wide receivers so much? And so he was asked about it. And that's when Terry jumped in and said that essentially Beane didn't want to draft Keon Coleman. He wasn't his first choice. That was the coach's decision, and threw Keon Coleman under the bus. It was shocking. And then later on, that he threw a player and the coaches under the bus?
A player that's still on the team.
That has two more years left on his contract. Right. It might not have been so shocking if they let him go.
Okay.
But he's still with the team.
Right.
Can you imagine?
He's on the team. Yes.
Can you imagine what Keon Coleman is thinking as this is happening?
He's
calling his agent saying, "Get me out of Buffalo."
Right.
And then Brandon Beane had to walk it back later on and said, I was 100% on board with drafting Keon Coleman. I still love Keon, and I still have faith in him and believe in him. So he walked that back. So that was just part of the drama. You don't know what to believe, what to take, what's going on. So I asked all of you on social this morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning, let me know what you thought about the press conference. That's it. I have over 100 responses right now. So let me read a couple of them. Jim said, Terry shouldn't be the owner anymore. Bills went from a positive place to be a place that's only comparable to Love Canal in toxicity.
Okay.
I hope you and the rest of the Bills Mafia see Terry for what he is, a horrible owner.
Stop it.
Lisa said it was terrible, and poor Keon being thrown under the bus. If I was him, I wouldn't want to be here. Pam said, very embarrassing. Sean McDermott deserved better. Scott said, from what I gather, it seems to have made Pegula and Beane's situation worse. For a potential coaching candidate, it initially is thought of as a great opportunity to coach the generational QB. However, it has also now turned into an unfortunate situation to work for an owner and GM that will ultimately run you over with the bus in multiple ways because they aren't at fault. Bart says, a national embarrassment. This organization doesn't deserve to win a Super Bowl, and quite evident, with this leadership, it won't. Rachel referenced Pegula explaining that he knew he had to fire McDermott after seeing the locker room after the game, and she wrote, emotional decision-making is reactive, not strategic. Effective leadership requires decisions grounded in facts and long-term impact, not momentary emotions. When emotions drive decisions, consistency and trust often suffer. Well said. And then Ann defended them. Ann said, I don't know what people wanted. Terry seemed utterly sincere. And Jessica said, I respect their decisions and know that they want to win a Super Bowl and will take a risk to do so. I support them. Patrick, what say you?
I don't think they were trying to gaslight anybody. I feel like the coach was honest. I'm sorry, the owner was honest and said, this is how I felt. I made a decision about what I felt walking into. Who knows if it's the right or wrong thing, but for people to completely bag on the team, say that it used to be a great franchise, it no longer is, nobody's going to want to come and work here. Come on. That's a little extreme.
We didn't get to ask Beane whether he agrees with Terry's decision to fire McDermott.
That was a question that I wish we could have asked. What did you think when you found out that McDermott was going to be fired? What were your thoughts?
Did you have any say?
Yeah. Did you agree?
Right.
But how do you answer that question with your owner sitting right there?
Right. I mean, yeah, he can't sit up there and say, I don't believe that this was the right decision.
No, he could say, I understand that change needs to be made, and this is the decision.
And they were a package deal. Well, I mean, yes, Beane came just a year after McDermott.
No,
but
just a few months.
Yeah, okay.
Just a few months.
But they were they got along so well. We at least we thought, and things were good. And then Bean defended himself, saying when they were asking, "Was this a power play?" That was one of the phrases that came out of power play, and he got really emotional and red in the face. And he's like, "That's not me. I would never do that. I would never want to get McDermott fired." And Terry then interrupted again, and Terry said, "If this was a power play, then Bean wouldn't be here either. I don't deal with people with power plays."
That's an honest answer. What's wrong with that answer?
Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
No, you don't have to close. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. And a lot of people took the whole thing very, very different ways.
You said, and we reported, and you said, when you do a search, this is labeled as disastrous.
When you do a Google search, search the Buffalo Bills press conference, it comes up as chaotic, as disastrous, as embarrassing. There are very few good comments that came out of this. And that's just unfortunate because the Bills came into this season thinking, people came into this season thinking the Bills were going to win the Super Bowl, that this was America's team now, and everyone loved them.
So that's changed? Just because of
they
that person?
fired a beloved head coach because people were crying in the locker room?
Okay, I just don't think that changes the entire vibe of the team.
And what head coach is going to want to come in here?
They're all going to want to come here. This is the greatest job there is in the NFL.
Yeah, but it doesn't just revolve around Josh Allen. It also revolves around who is your owner and who's your GM. Who's the brass surrounding you?
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I just don't think it was as disastrous as, I don't know. It's like, move on, let's go. Get a coach.
Let's do this. Speaking of getting a coach, real quick, and then we'll go to break. They are trying to get a coach. They've got Brian Dayball coming back today. Yes, according to Ian Rappaport, Brian Dayball is supposed to be interviewed today. Of course, he's a Western New Yorker. He went to St. Francis. Didn't do so well with the Giants, so he is looking to come back here. He was the OC.
He was the coach of the year, his first year with the Giants.
Well, they let him go. So he potentially could want to come back here, according to Diana Rossini. This is his first choice. He does want to be the head coach here, not the OC. So he has an interview today, according to Ian Rappaport. Also, they're going to be interviewing the Colts DC today. And, here we go. And yesterday, they did interview Joe Brady, the current OC, interviewed him for the head coaching position. Anthony Lynn, who has ties to Buffalo, will be interviewed.
He was a coach. He was a coach for one game.
Yep, it's the Lou Anarumo who could be interviewed today. Anthony Weaver. Grant Udinski I didn't know a lot about him, and then I looked him up, and he's like 30 years old, and he's a phenom. They call him like a wonder kid. That he has just a lot of
Wait, why isn't Davis Webb up there?
He should be, but they can't interview him yet because he's still in the playoffs.
Still in okay.
And Brandon Beane did mention that during the press conference, that there are people that they want to talk to, but they can't. And so that would also be likely Clint Kubiak and Davis Webb. And I think one other. So there you go.
Okay. Let's go.
We'll keep you updated.
Let's go. This is not I'm sorry, that press conference. Let's move on.
It's got to get better.
Okay.
We'll be right back after the break.
Hi.
The catch that changed the future.
So Brandon Cooks is on Good Morning Football right now, talking about the play that we're all referring to.
We don't want you to turn off.
No. It's over. He's already left. They're now interviewing Taylor Swift, so don't worry about it. But he is sitting there going, listen, I can't get mad. It's going to sting. But I caught the ball. I hit the ground. I was down. Then he took the ball away.
Right. And now the NFL Network also released some new video yesterday showing a slow-mo version of the catch.
Right.
And it is clearly a catch. And that wrong call cost a coach's job, cost the team the end of the season.
You have to imagine, though, in real time, that is a tough call to make.
Then slow it down.
Review it.
And McDermott tried to do that.
Right.
He called a timeout. He wanted them to slow down and look at it because they were making this rash decision.
Why didn't they?
Why didn't they? It was so fast.
Yeah.
And it changed the future
of a gentleman,
right,
and of a team, and
potentially could have cost the city a Super Bowl.
Right.
Anyway, a lot of you feel bad for Sean McDermott. On change.org right now, there's a reinstate Sean McDermott to the Buffalo Bills petition. Earlier this morning, it had 14,000 signatures. Just within the last 2 hours, it's jumped up to over 20,000 signatures. I don't know if it's going to matter. It won't matter.
You can't.
You can't bring him back.
I mean, I appreciate it, but there's no way. an
that
owner can
Terry can say, I made the wrong call and
Right.
bring him back. Let's hope things go better for the Sabres this season.
Oh my
They
gosh.
play tonight.
Okay,
Montreal
hold on.
Canadiens.
I got it. That was a lot.
Are you okay?
No, that was just a lot. I'm hot and I need to cool off. Now we're talking Sabres. Okay.
Sabres are looking good. They're the first wild card position right now. They're playing the Canadiens tonight. The Canadiens are higher than them in the conference right now, so this is a big game. We're
It's a
playing a
big
lot
game.
of conference
Right.
games in the next couple of days.
Well,
7 o'clock.
You and Pete were saying that this next series of games can really make or break their entire future for this year.
There are a lot of games left. That's what
I know,
Pete said.
but
they
because
are
they're
playing,
all in our division.
Right. They're playing the Toronto Maple Leafs and a couple other teams that are all in the conference in the division. And so, yeah, the standings will matter, but it is really fun to have exciting Sabres hockey right now. Buffalo
Absolutely.
sports fans need something to cheer about. Bandits aren't doing that well right now, so at least we have the Sabres.
Here we go.
Weather-wise, today snow, tomorrow cold.
I need 35 minutes for this, but anyway, snow showers today, very cold on Saturday, snow on Sunday.
Bye, everybody.
That's all I